Welcome in, everybody, to this dupe dive.
Hmm.
We're going to be looking at a Charlie Brown Christmas,
Oh yeah, one of the
a
classics.
classic holiday special, and
Yeah.
it premiered way back in 1965.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
This is before my time.
It was a time of Beatlemania
Oh wow.
and the space race.
Crazy.
But amidst all that excitement,
Yeah.
this simple animated story about a round-headed kid
Oh.
and his search for the true meaning of Christmas
Right.
became a cultural phenomenon.
It really did.
I think what's so fascinating is how it just completely broke the mold for children's programming back then.
Yeah. How so?
Well, for one thing, there's no laugh track.
Oh,
The
interesting.
characters are voiced by actual children,
Wow.
and the score is this incredible jazz music by Vince Guaraldi.
I love that music.
Yeah, those were some pretty unconventional choices
They were very different.
for a children's special back then.
Yeah. And you know what I think? Yeah. Those unconventional choices are a huge part of why the special is so impactful even today. Like, take the lack of a laugh track, for instance.
Okay.
By removing that artificial cue to tell you when to laugh,
Right.
the creators actually allowed the audience to just experience the emotions of the story more authentically.
That's a good point.
You're not being told when to laugh or what's funny.
Right.
You're just connecting with Charlie Brown's anxieties and Linus's wisdom and Lucy's, well, Luciness on a much more genuine level.
It's true. It's like they trusted their
He
audience,
did.
even the youngest viewers, to understand the humor and the pathos of the story without being nudged along.
Absolutely.
And speaking of trusting the audience, casting children to voice the characters,
Oh,
that was another bold move.
It was very unusual for the time.
It really was.
There's a real vulnerability and a realness in their voices that you just wouldn't get with
Yeah.
adult actors. You can especially hear it when Charlie Brown is expressing his frustration
Right.
with the commercialization of Christmas.
Right.
Those weren't just lines being delivered.
Mm.
Those were feelings being shared.
And that feeling, that frustration with the holiday hype is something that resonates just as strongly today,
Oh, absolutely.
if not more so.
Yeah, I think even more so.
Charlie Brown almost seems prophetic
He
in
does.
his disillusionment.
Yeah, he's surrounded by all this pressure
Right.
to buy the perfect gifts and decorate in the right way and participate in all the commercial trappings of the season.
Yeah,
But he sees through it all,
he does.
and he longs for something deeper, something more genuine.
Yeah.
And that's a feeling I think a lot of us can relate to, especially during the holidays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He just wants to understand what Christmas is really all about. And his journey to find that meaning takes him to some interesting places.
It does.
Like that scene where he picks out the scraggly little Christmas tree.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a poignant moment.
It is.
I'm curious, what do you think makes that image so powerful?
You know, I think it's a visual representation of the special's overarching theme,
Which is,
finding beauty in imperfection,
hmm,
in a world that so often prioritizes appearances. Charlie Brown chooses the tree that everyone else overlooks.
right.
He sees potential in that sad little sapling,
He does.
and he nurtures it into something beautiful.
It's true.
And I think it's a reminder to all of us that sometimes the most authentic things aren't the flashiest or the most perfect.
Right.
They're the things that we connect with on a deeper level.
Yeah, and it's such a powerful message, and it's delivered with such simplicity.
It is.
And speaking of things that enhance the simple beauty of the story,
Yeah.
we have to talk about the music.
Oh, the music's fantastic.
Vince Guaraldi's jazz score is so iconic.
It really is.
It's become as much a part of the holiday season as carols and twinkling lights.
It's true.
I mean, it's remarkable to think that jazz wasn't considered typical music for a children's program at the time. It was a really unconventional choice,
It was.
but it worked brilliantly.
It did.
Guaraldi's music adds this incredible depth and emotional richness to the story. It's the perfect complement to the animation, to the characters, to the overall mood of the special.
It really is.
The music is like a warm hug on a cold winter night.
Oh, I love that.
And speaking of warm hugs, can we talk about the enduring relevance of a Charlie Brown Christmas in today's world?
Please.
I mean, consumerism is even more rampant now than it was back in 1965.
Oh, for sure.
So how does this special still resonate with audiences across generations?
Well, I think it reminds us that the true spirit of the holidays lies in things like simplicity and togetherness and finding meaning beyond material possessions. You know, things that really matter.
Yeah. I love that.
Hmm.
I'm also fascinated by some of the behind-the-scenes details of the production.
Oh, me too.
For example, did you know that Coca-Cola was the original sponsor
Wow.
for A Charlie Brown Christmas?
That's so interesting,
It is, isn't it?
especially considering the message
Right.
of the special.
It's pretty surprising,
Yeah,
considering the special's strong message against commercialism.
exactly.
It makes you wonder how the sponsorship might have influenced the script.
It does.
Some people have even pointed out that in some early drafts, Charlie Brown actually drinks a bottle of Coke at one point.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never heard that.
I know.
Wow, that's wild.
It really underscores the complexities of bringing a story like this to life.
It does.
And speaking of those complexities,
Yeah.
I read that the entire special was produced in just 6 months.
Yeah.
That seems almost impossible,
So fast.
especially for an animated special.
Yeah.
What kind of pressure must they have been under to pull that off?
I can't imagine.
6 months is an incredibly short time frame, especially for animation.
It is.
But it's a testament to the dedication and passion of the creative team.
It is.
They clearly believed in the message of the special, and they poured their hearts into making it a reality. And you can see that passion shine through in every frame.
It's us.
It's amazing how all these elements came together to create this timeless classic.
Yeah.
It's simple yet profound, heartwarming yet thought-provoking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the most important things it does is encourage us to reflect on what the holidays really mean to us.
I agree.
But before we get into that, I think it's time we explore one of the most powerful moments in the special,
Yeah.
that scene where Linus takes center stage.
Oh, yes. It's interesting you bring up Linus's speech.
Yeah.
That scene didn't make it into the final cut.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Why on earth would they even consider cutting that scene? It's
Yeah.
such a pivotal moment in the special.
Some of the network executives were worried about including a religious message.
Oh.
They didn't think it would be well received by a broad audience. This was 1965.
Right.
And the idea of putting a direct quote from the Bible in a children's cartoon
Yeah.
was pretty radical.
I guess so.
Yeah, it seems so short-sighted now,
It really does.
especially considering how iconic that scene has become.
Yeah,
It's the emotional core of the whole special.
it is.
It's a perfect example of how taking a risk,
Mhm.
trusting your audience to engage with complex themes can really pay off.
For sure.
It's a testament to the creator's conviction that they fought to keep that scene.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what a Charlie Brown Christmas would even be like without that scene.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same, that's for sure.
It wouldn't have the same depth.
Yeah.
The scene works so well because it comes at the climax of Charlie Brown's emotional journey.
Right.
He's at his wit's end, totally overwhelmed by the commercialization of Christmas.
He is.
And then Linus, the most innocent and sincere character,
Yeah.
steps into the spotlight
Mm.
and
That-
delivers this message of hope and faith.
Yeah, it's such a stark contrast.
It is.
And it's so powerful.
Yeah. And it's not preachy or heavy-handed.
Wow.
It's just a kid sharing his understanding of what Christmas is all about.
Right.
And that's what makes it so effective.
It really is.
Sometimes the most profound messages are the simplest ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that ties in nicely with the special's theme of finding beauty in imperfection.
Yeah.
Charlie Brown's scraggly little Christmas tree is a visual metaphor for that.
Yeah. And it's fascinating how they brought that tree to life.
How so?
They used this technique called limited animation,
Okay.
which means they used fewer drawings per second than they would for traditional animation.
Mm.
So it created this slightly jerky, almost hesitant movement,
Aw.
which I think perfectly captures the essence of that little tree.
So those technical choices actually contributed to the emotional impact of that scene.
They did.
It's amazing. It
Yeah.
wasn't just a drawing of a tree, it was like
Yeah.
a character in itself,
It was.
embodying that sense of vulnerability and resilience.
Exactly. And, that's another reason why this special, I think, continues to resonate with people.
Mm.
The animation style, though, simple, is full of heart.
It feels authentic.
It does.
Genuine. You could almost feel the hand of the artist in every frame.
Yeah, and that sense of authenticity, it extends to the whole production,
Right.
from the kids voicing the characters to the jazz music.
Mm-hmm.
There's a rawness, a vulnerability that you don't often see in kids' entertainment.
That's true. And I think that's part of the special's genius.
Yeah.
It doesn't shy away from these complex emotions.
Yeah. The holidays can be stressful.
They can.
It can be tough to find the true meaning amidst all the chaos.
Yeah, it's true. And it's through Charlie Brown's struggle,
Yeah.
his search for something more,
Mm,
that we ultimately discover that meaning as well.
exactly. It's a story about finding hope in the midst of despair,
Yeah.
about embracing simplicity over extravagance,
Mm-hmm.
and about recognizing the true spirit of the holidays and the connections we have with each other.
And it does all that with humor, heart, and a little bit of jazz.
That's right. A Charlie Brown Christmas reminds us that even in a world that often feels materialistic and superficial, there's still room for authenticity and vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
and for the simple joys of the season.
Well said. And as we move into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want us to explore how a Charlie Brown Christmas has managed to stay so relevant for over half a century.
Yeah.
What is it about this simple story that continues to capture our hearts and minds?
That's a good question.
You know, it's funny, we've talked about so many different elements of this special, the
Yeah.
music, the animation, the message.
Right.
But one thing that keeps coming up for me, and I think this really gets at its lasting power, is the sheer sincerity of A Charlie Brown Christmas.
I totally agree.
It's so sincere.
In a world that feels increasingly, polished and commercialized,
Yeah.
there's something so refreshing
Yeah.
about the raw honesty of this special.
It really is.
It's like a breath of fresh air.
And that sincerity is reflected in so many ways.
It is.
We've talked about the animation style, the limited animation, those
Mhm.
hand-drawn lines.
Can you talk a little more about how those techniques contribute to that feeling of authenticity?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, limited animation was actually a cost-saving measure back then.
Oh.
It uses fewer drawings per second,
Right.
which gives the movements that slightly jerky, less fluid quality.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think it actually worked to the special's advantage.
Sure.
It created this sense of childlike wonder,
Yeah.
of imperfection.
Yeah.
That I think really captures the spirit of the story.
Yeah. It's like those imperfections make it more relatable.
I do.
More human.
Uh-huh.
You can almost feel the hand of the artist in every frame,
You can.
which is such a stark contrast to the sleek, computer-generated animation that we see so much of these days.
Right. Totally different.
And there's a warmth
Oh, yeah.
to that hand-drawn style that you just can't replicate with CGI.
Mm-hmm.
It's like looking at a beloved childhood drawing.
Yes.
It evokes that sense of nostalgia and comfort.
And speaking of nostalgia.
We can't forget about the music.
Oh, the music.
Fitz Guaraldi's score.
Yeah.
It's just an integral part of the whole experience.
It is.
I mean, how he blended those cool, jazzy melodies with these traditional Christmas carols.
Right.
It's incredible.
It creates this really unique soundscape.
It does.
It's both melancholic and hopeful, playful, and profound.
Yeah, I mean, his score is a masterpiece.
It is.
It perfectly captures the emotional complexity of the story.
Yeah.
Those jazzy riffs, they capture Charlie Brown's anxieties and frustrations.
Right.
And then those softer, more melodic moments underscore the moments of hope and connection.
It's true. And it's so interesting that using jazz for a children's special was such an unconventional choice.
It was a big risk.
It was.
But it paid off.
It did. It really speaks to their willingness to just break the mold
Totally.
and try something different.
They weren't afraid to experiment.
They didn't want to create just another saccharine holiday special.
Right.
They wanted to create something that felt authentic, that resonated on a deeper level.
Exactly.
And they succeeded.
They did.
Let's talk about another unconventional choice, using real children as voice actors.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's hard to imagine a Charlie Brown Christmas without those distinctive voices.
I know. It's amazing that they went with children.
Yeah.
Especially at a time when most animation studios relied on professional voice actors.
Right.
But it really adds a layer of vulnerability and authenticity that you just wouldn't get otherwise.
Yeah, you can really hear it in Charlie Brown's voice when he cries out, "Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?"
Yes.
There's just this raw honesty in that line that cuts right to the heart of the matter.
It's so real.
It's so real.
And it resonates with everyone.
It does.
Because we all feel that way sometimes.
Yeah, that disillusionment when the holiday season becomes more about commercialism than connection.
Exactly. And I think that's why this special continues to be so relevant today.
Yeah.
The world is arguably even more commercialized now than it was back then.
Right.
And this special, it's like a gentle reminder to slow down, appreciate the simple things, and focus on what really matters.
It is. It's a message that's timeless and universal.
It is.
It reminds us that the true spirit of the holidays lies in connection and kindness and finding joy in the simple things.
Yeah. The things that money can't buy.
Exactly.
So I encourage everyone as we wrap up this deep dive
Yeah.
to go back and revisit Charlie Brown Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to those little details,
Yeah.
the nuances in the music, the sincerity in the voices.
Yeah.
Let yourself kind of be transported back to that simpler time,
Right.
to that sense of childlike wonder,
Mm-hmm.
and to the message of hope and connection
Yeah.
that lies at the heart of this beloved holiday classic.
A Charlie Brown Christmas is a reminder that even though the world keeps changing,
Yeah,
some things never go out of style,
that's right.
like the power of friendship, the beauty of simplicity, and the true meaning of the holiday spirit.
I love that.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.